What's up, Night Owl? Steely here, back with another Candlekeep video, and today I'm going to be going over how to prepare for your Candlekeep Mysteries campaign. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about preparing for Candlekeep. There's a lot of different ways that just to approach this module in general, because by design, each of these chapters is their own adventure, their own separate from. There's no linear path throughout the module. And this video is mainly for DMs who would like to have a linear campaign. That's what I'm currently running for all of the groups that I'm running. I'm currently running 5 groups through Candlekeep Mysteries, and all of them are going to be a singular campaign start to finish. And there is a way to do it. And it's actually really great because without that linear draw, you can have downtime between each of these adventures. You can actually use downtime. A lot of times with the regular modules like Frost Maiden, when you finish one chapter, you quickly move into another and things are happening. But with this, with each chapter being its own individual adventure, you can actually have some breathing room. Your players can set up a base. They can do more downtime things that can really get involved. And whether or not, whether you like that or not, that's Candlekeep encourages that. So let's get into the video. To start with, let me talk about how Candlekeep Mysteries sets up each of these adventures. There's a few different ways that they go about it. By far the easiest is the party finds a book and stumbles across a portal leading to this next adventure. There's quite a few of those in the book, and those are by far the easiest. In some cases, an event happens within Candlekeep, and the party has to deal with that event, and there's usually some book tied to this. And finally, some adventures will actually have the party learn rumors through a book in the library, and then they'll be required to leave Candlekeep and go on an adventure to a location and then back to Candlekeep. Those, in my opinion, would be the hardest because it involves you actually leaving Candlekeep. You have to set up the travel and any encounters, you might maybe bandits or something, and then the location itself, and then back to Candlekeep. So I think those are the hardest, but they're not too bad. I'm going to do videos on each of these. Don't worry. I'm working on the first chapter now. I have some surprises in the works, so be on the lookout for that. So with that out of the way, let's talk about setting up this campaign, setting up Candlekeep, where your party is going to spend most of their time. Fortunately, if you want to run a campaign from the first chapter onward in a linear fashion, the book sets you up perfectly in the first chapter by giving you access to a mansion. The party will venture into an extra-dimensional space that contains a permanent Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion, and the party will clear this out, gather some information about the mansion. There is a story there. I'll cover that in the Joy of Extra-Dimensional Spaces video. But essentially, once the party finishes this objective, they get to control this mansion. The book even mentions like the party can use this as a base of operations now. Candlekeep will accommodate by giving them access to the study. Again, if you haven't read this chapter, this probably sounds confusing. The party will have access to a mansion of their very own in an extra-dimensional space in the very first chapter, and I think that is just cool. So this would be the perfect opportunity for your party to get set up within the mansion and within Candlekeep. Now, as far as Candlekeep itself and getting to Candlekeep, what I personally did was in the very first session, I had the party following a caravan on their way to Candlekeep, and the head of the caravan I had looking for Matrius, which leads into the very first chapter. The head of the caravan is looking for Matrius because the village that they're coming from was cursed, and Matrius specializes in curses. If you haven't read the first chapter, this will easily lead you into the first chapter. I kind of want to just touch on it here. I'll go into more in depth with that particular video, but leading the party into Candlekeep, the head of the caravan that they're working for is looking for Matrius. That way you can have the head of the caravan mention like, oh, I'm going to go look for my friend Matrius. He specializes in curses. There's a cursed village nearby. Moving on. The party can then search and explore Candlekeep while the head of the caravan goes looks for Matrius, learns that he's missing, and then you can lead into the very first chapter. And you can spend as much time as you want on that particular event. And the reason that I set things up in that particular way is because the very first chapter has you looking for Matrius in order to help a cursed village. He specializes in curses, and there's a cursed village. So that's why you're looking for Matrius. You learn about the extra-dimensional space looking for Matrius, and that's the first chapter. The reason that I kept that cursed village and I wanted to tie it into the main campaign is because there is a chapter in the book that actually has a village overrun by meanlocks. That's chapter 4. And if you read on chapter 4, that could be your cursed village. And you can kind of adjust the language however you want as far as introducing the party to Candlekeep. That first session can kind of hint or foreshadow that fourth chapter. That could be the cursed village. So they're looking for Matrius about this cursed village. Chapter 4 could be the Vermalen, could be the perfect cursed village that ties into that. And then later on, it comes up that, oh no, the village is overrun. And then the village disappears, and then the party has to go investigate it without Matrius, or speak with dead to Matrius, whatever, however they end up doing that. And that's kind of how I tied the party to Candlekeep without actually making them a part of that village. That way they didn't have a reason to go back. Because if they're from that village, which is what the book recommends, then they'll go to Candlekeep, learn of Matrius, and then go back to the village, and then they're not in Candlekeep anymore. So to prevent those ties to that particular village, I just had them show up at Candlekeep, learn about the village from the caravan, and then they can go investigate it in chapter 4. And then that would be that leads you into chapter 1 and chapter 4 easily. Most of the chapters just kind of stumble into the party's lap, because that's just how a one-shot adventure is designed. And I'll go over each of those. But mainly I wanted you to know, if you're preparing to run Candlekeep, that first chapter and that fourth chapter are a great way to tie each other together. And that way you can foreshadow. That way it doesn't feel so, oh, suddenly there's a book, suddenly there's a portal, and we're in the next adventure. Just to have some kind of, linear story going on. Chapter 1 and chapter 4 are a great way to tie that up. And another great thing about having this caravan going to Candlekeep and the party following it is, if you want to spice things up a little bit with the combat, you can actually have some bandits ambush the caravan, and that can start things off with a bang. You can start things off with a combat. And I know that's a little cliche, having bandits ambush the caravan, but the great thing about having bandits ambush a caravan on its way to Candlekeep is some of these bandits are probably scholars looking for books that they can use to get into Candlekeep. So the way to spice that up, if you don't want the cliche bandits jumping a caravan, is to throw a wizard in there, a sage of some kind who's looking for a book. They maybe even have a spell book, so that you can give your first level wizard a spell book to add some spells to the list, or whatever, or some scrolls, potions, whatever. Have a mage in there that's looking for books. That can spice up those bandits perfectly. And a first level party dealing with like spells, a magic missile or burning hands could be pretty interesting. Don't overwhelm them. I would just do magic missile, maybe a shield. Do you imagine a bandit showing up, and then your party's frontline fighter runs up, and then suddenly the bandit casts shield? That would definitely spice things up. So do that if you want to do an early combat. I didn't do that, and I kind of wish I would, because your party may spend a lot of time in Candlekeep before they move on to the first chapter. They may want to explore Candlekeep a bit, and having a combat early on would kind of get that out of the way, so that they can explore Candlekeep. They've had their bonding experience. They've gotten to play around with their class abilities, and then they can go role play with some NPCs for a while before they move on to the adventure. And you may want to spend an entire session in Candlekeep and then do a session leading into the first chapter. That'd be entirely up to you, but there is plenty to do in Candlekeep that you can kind of create something interesting. If that's the case, I would definitely have those bandits ambush, because there won't be a lot of combat opportunities within the walls of Candlekeep prior to the first adventure. You could also foreshadow the second chapter by having a were-rat and some giant rats ambush the party. This may be a little bit too much for them to handle. If you want to do the were-rats and foreshadow chapter 2, then I would add a few NPCs to kind of help the party take them on, maybe a night or something. All right, that's enough on getting your party to Candlekeep and getting things set up. Now let's talk about Candlekeep itself. Once the party arrives at the gates of Candlekeep, they're going to meet 5 avowed priests of Denier, who is the god of writing. These 5 avowed, which is the name given to the people that maintain Candlekeep. Avowed are the people that take care of Candlekeep, and seekers are the people who are visiting. So the party would be seekers. The avowed are the librarians. So once the party reaches the gate, they're going to meet these 5 avowed in purple robes. The party may also meet the gate warden, Kalen Strongbranch, who has the Archmage stat block. And right away, the party, when they reach the gate, they can see this Archmage, and right away they'll learn that this place has some pretty hefty defenses. This place is no joke. It takes security very seriously. And you can even have, however means that the party reaches Candlekeep. Again, I did the caravan. And I had rumors kind of spread throughout the caravan, like to the party, that talking about the defenses here in Candlekeep, how they got wards all over the place. You can't magically enter Creatures can't even fly over the wall. There's a whole section on the defenses that I recommend you read through. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but this place has some pretty hefty magic protecting it from nonsense. The proper way to enter Candlekeep is to provide a book that they don't already have in their library. The Avowed will also accept rare editions of books that they currently have in the library, or journals that detail insightful or unique experiences. Also, anybody who enters Candlekeep has to agree to the Orders of Accordance, which is a set of rules set in place that all the seekers have to follow. The rules are no fighting, no stealing, no damaging, no copying. You are allowed to take notes here, but if you want a full copy of a work, you have to go to the house of the binder and hire the sages there to make you a copy of a book. Once you've provided a book that's not already in the library and you've agreed to the orders, then you are allowed inside of Candlekeep and you are assigned a study at the Pillars of Pedagogy. You're assigned a room at the House of Rest, and you're also assigned an Avowed Adjutant who is sort of your guide to Candlekeep. Now, the importance of this guide is that nobody is allowed into the actual library of Candlekeep. There's this large emerald door that blocks the way for seekers, the people visiting Candlekeep, and only the Avowed are allowed past that door in order to get to the library. So this Avowed Adjutant that is assigned to the party not only shows them around and acts as a guide, but it's also the one who is going to go into the library and pull the books that they are requesting. So if a party member is requesting a specific book, the guide can go to the library and get it for them. Or if they're looking to research a specific topic, the adjutant can go into the library and pull books on that specific topic and bring it to them in their study at the Pillars of Pedagogy or the House of Rest or wherever they want to study. The bathhouse, maybe. I don't know. They may not bring books there because it's steamy wet, could damage the works. So they probably have some rules on where you can bring books and where to study, but the book doesn't address that specifically. Now, it is possible for a seeker to get through the Emerald Door and into the library themselves, but this requires a letter of admittance from a very high up member of Candlekeep. Now, if you want your party to have access to the Great Library and get through the Emerald Door, there's a great opportunity for that early in the campaign. In the adventure Shimshine's Bedtime Rhyme, Candlekeep falls under the effects of a curse, and several people need to be quarantined off in the tavern in order to deal with this curse. The party goes on an adventure, they deal with the source of the curse, and they save Candlekeep. This would be a great opportunity. It's not really expressed in the book, at least I didn't see it, but this would be a great opportunity to give the party access to the Emerald Door as a thank you from Candlekeep and some of the higher ups for dealing with the curse. Now, this adventure is for a 4th level party, and the way the adventures are set up, you could get a level for every adventure. There's a 1st level adventure, a 2nd level adventure. There's 2 4th level adventures. So what I'm going to do with my campaign is everybody gains a level at the end of each adventure. With the exception of level 4, they're going to go on 2 adventures. One of them is the Creeping Darkness and the other is Shimshine's Rhyme. So once you finish the Bedtime Rhyme, they'll hit level 5 if you go by that, and then they'll have access to the Emerald Door at 5th level. It's a great opportunity to access the Great Library, and maybe they can meet that dragon that's under the library or whatever NPCs that may be behind in the inner sanctum. Now, speaking of NPCs, let's talk about the chain of command. At the very top of the totem pole, the mayor of Candlekeep is the Keeper of Tomes, which at the time that this adventure takes place is an archmage named Genesi. The Keeper of Tomes up at the top assigns 8 council members that oversee day-to-day operation. These council members are known as Great Readers. There's also a First Reader, which the book says is in charge of expanding Candlekeep's literary resources as well as their base of knowledge. And this First Reader is known as Bookworm, a green dragonborn. It's Bookworm spelled with a Y because it's a dragonborn. I think that's adorable. Moving on. Now, there's also a position in Candlekeep known as Chanter, which maintains the prophecies of Alondo the Seer. Now, to be honest, I don't fully understand the purpose of this role of Chanter. It seems like it's just like a preacher that goes around preaching the word of Alondo and his prophecies. What strikes me as odd is that within the inner ward, there is a location known as the Echoes of Alondo, and this basically contains all of the writings and all of the prophecies that Alondo had. The Chanter is not allowed access to these echoes, at least according to the book. It says only the Keeper of Tomes and the First Reader, which is Bookworm, are allowed in here to review these prophecies, which I find weird. If the Chanter's job is to kind of proclaim the word, that they should be allowed, but I don't know. If you're more familiar with Candlekeep, please leave me a comment down below kind of explaining the whole Chanter and Alando the Seer. The book really doesn't go into it. If it does, I may have overlooked that particular part, but I don't fully understand Alando the Seer and the Chanter and these prophecies. So if you could give me some insight in the comments, I would appreciate it. Now let's move on to the locations. The first one being the House of Rest, which is like the inn here at Candlekeep, a place for the seekers to rest. The House of Rest provides both common rooms and private rooms, and if the place gets a little bit too full, they can actually create extra dimensional spaces for additional housing. The Hearth is a tavern which appears modest on the outside, but once you go inside, it's actually 3 times the size as it looks from the outside, and that's because of an extra dimensional space. This extra dimensional space was created by worshippers of Gond, the god of craft. There is a clockwork device hanging from the ceiling known as the geometric amplifier, which is the source of the magic used to maintain this extra dimensional space. There's also several doors around the tavern which lead to even more extra dimensional spaces, and these are used as shrines and private meeting rooms. There is one very important patron here at the Hearth, and that is Little One, an ogre, wearing a headband of intellect. At one time, this ogre was a cruel brute, but once he killed an adventurer wearing a headband of intellect and attuned to it, he started to develop reasoning. He learned the error of his ways, and now he seeks a better life. He has taken on the name Little One in honor of the halfling adventurer that he killed for the headband. When I get to making videos on the NPCs of Candlekeep, Little One will most certainly be on that list. I want to make a special note of the House of the Binder because you have the ability to go here and make copies of books, including spell books. Unless for some plot reason the spells don't exist, I would definitely have a large collection, if not all of the spells, available to the wizards in your party who want to copy spells over. The Pillars of Pedagogy are the private study rooms that have a permanent silence spell on them. I personally made it to where you could turn these silent spells on and off with a switch, or you could do a command word if you want. Just something to be able to turn the silence off. There's nothing really to note at the bathhouse or the Temple of Ogma, except that there are 4 stone golems guarding the place. There is an outfitter and a smithy, and this is where the party can go to sell some of their goods. The smithy has an exotic mount section, hippogriffs and wyverns, so that's something that you keep in mind if you ever want the party to have access to that. You could have maybe a breeder there, or if they get an exotic mount, they can leave them here at the smithy. And that's it for my Candlekeep Mysteries DM prep guide. I hope that's enough to kind of get you into the groove and kind of get you ready to run this as a straight campaign. I mainly focused on running this as a straight campaign because the book already provides the means to do the one-shots, but there's not a whole lot of resources within the book for making this a linear campaign. So just to get you started, remember that in the first chapter where they investigate the extra-dimensional spaces, there is mention of a cursed city or a cursed village. That could easily be Vermalen from chapter 4. There's also the opportunity to ambush the party at the beginning with the rare rats. That could be a reference to chapter 2. There's ways to tie them in, and I'm going to go over them in each of those particular chapter books. I just wanted to mention those here because those are very early on, and you can get ready for those right away when you start prepping, rather than just read the entire book and then trying to weave everything together. You can go ahead and get those first few out of the way, and then as you go, get ready for that. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know how YouTube works. Hit those buttons, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're planning for your Candlekeep Mysteries campaign. And if you're a DM looking for players looking for a DM, make sure you join the Discord. Link in the description. Come by, ask questions, let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you at sundown.